Welcome, my beautiful souls, and welcome, my gorgeous Capricorns. This is your December 2025 reading. I just have a feeling it's going to be wild. I just want to let you know real quick that December is a 3 month, and it makes so much sense because we're leaving this 9 year cycle, entering into a brand new 9 year cycle. So starting at year one, and December having a three energy, well, that's the same as the world. It's 21. It's really 21, and then you bring it down to a three. Um, Same energy as the world, completion. But this is supposed to be an exciting month. This is a month for joy. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. I'm really looking forward to doing your reading. I've been like, I wanted to do December readings like months ago, but this was its time. So Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising. Many of you are intuitively guided. I thank you for paying attention to your intuition, as do your spirit guides, because it's really them nudging you here, like putting the video before you. Um, and, I'm not even going to go negative. Um, I was just going to say, not everyone loves long readings, and I totally get that. But these are detailed. And, it's interesting. I was talking to my guys, which I do all the time. And I said, I feel like I'm always doing love readings. And I feel like, is it too much? And what I heard back is, you're not doing love readings. You're showing them the bridge to get from point A to where their ultimate destination, their soul wants. So it's the bridge to get there. And that made so much sense. And that is why my readings are long. I want to be the bridge. I am the messenger, but I also want to be the bridge for you. Some of you certainly are in love with the Capricorn, and that may be what brought you here. Your spirit guides know that, and they will get messages to you. So just have your intuition open. That's the best way. I feel like when we watch a reading, we watch it with our human ears, and then sometimes for some reason you go back and you revisit it, but you have your spiritual ears on and you hear it in a whole different way. That's how divine works. That's how divine works. So, anyways, enough talking. Um, Capricorn, we're going to use, or we're going to have Mother Mary open the reading for you. I'm going to use the crystal vision to clarify and go deeper. And a deck that really called out for you is the Universal Tarot. And I was trying to think, have I used this deck on you or for you before? I'm sure I have somewhere along the road, but I don't feel like I've used it in a long time for you. But that's what was calling for you. And then, of course, we'll use the major arcanas, who, I mean, they tell their own beautiful little story, but everything is going to relate back. Just know that. So these are layers. That's how I look at it. Like this is layer one, layer two, layer three, layer four. And then if love does come up, but when doesn't it? I have the love clarifying situation all ready to go. The romance angels all ready to go. So I'm going to put the lid down and we are going to officially open this reading. So let's start with Mother Mary. And I literally just did a podcast. Well, I did it the other day, but I released it today, that talks about the energy of December and what it means for the collective. Um, it's a massive global shift is what's happening. All right, but let's bring it back down to you. Well, Mother Mary says, love, love, love. Love is the answer to all of my questions. Love. So I have a feeling we're going to be talking about love. But remember, love, someone says, is the answer to all my questions. Love of self, love of what you do, love of another, platonically and romantically. We'll see. It may all come out. So let's go ahead and bring in the major arcanas. And I just have to say, I just love the value they bring to a reading. Um, like once I brought them into the reading in this format, it's like, how can I leave them out? All right, we have the Fool, and look who's following the Fool, the Magician. How interesting. The Fool, a new beginning. Wow, this is what we're heading for. The Magician is what 2026 is going to be represented by, the Magician. Year one. But how beautiful that the Magician is right next to the Fool, because the Magician really is the Fool's greatest mentor. The Magician teaches the Fool, and he's looking right at the Fool. You possess all the tools that you need to be truly successful on whatever you want to take a leap of faith in. You know, the tools are on the table. They're on the table. Nothing's hidden from you. All right, let's see if anything else wants to come out. But I have to say, I feel like the Fool coming out for the month of December, and then the Magician following that, it just makes perfect sense. And then we have Judgment. So this is your spiritual team, and they're calling you to the present moment. Always, always, because this is where your signs are set. This is when you receive your guidance in the present moment, not in the past, not in the future, in the here and now. Judgment talks about a rebirth. Wow. I mean, looking right at the Magician. Capricorn, it feels powerful. Like, I feel there's a lot of power behind this. And it may all start with the Fool in you taking a leap of faith. Let's see if anything else wants to come out. Okay. Oh my gosh. Well, the Hermit. So we're in the year of the Hermit. So we have the representation of this year through the Hermit, and the representation of your next year through the Magician. You know, it's like your spiritual team is saying, take all this wisdom of your past experiences. It is now part of your soul, part of your soul's growth. You know, the Hermit is either going into a cave or emerging from a cave. And, you know, I felt way back in January that this is going to be a year where healers are really called to the forefront. But I feel like 2026 is even more important because, you know, if you listen to that podcast, you understand there's going to be some massive global shifts. But that's for all of us. But anyways, the Hermit to me is the wise old soul. And I see no restriction here whatsoever. If anything, I feel like your spiritual team is saying, we're proud of the work you've been doing. You know, instead of, well, I was going to say, instead of worrying and all that, which was probably part of the year, um, I feel like you're coming out in December with more clarity than ever. Powerful energy, I'm telling you. You know, it's like the Fool's about to take a leap of faith. Judgment's like, well, we're going to help guide you. The Magician's like, and I'm right here showing you that you really possess everything you need. You are this wise old soul. This is the wisdom of your experiences. That's why the Fool doesn't have fear, because the Fool has reflected, extracted the wisdom, and left the rest. So this is powerful. Okay, let's see where this Fool, the Fool, is taking you. And you are the Fool. We're all the Fool. In any new beginning, in any new situation, we're the Fool. So, if we're always the Fool, then think about that. Because the Fool puts the past in the past. The little knapsack that the Fool carries, that's all he needs for this journey. To me, that represents the wisdom of my experiences. But this is very light energy. Okay. We have the Queen of Pentacles. Can be Virgo. We have Virgo right there, Taurus or Capricorn. But it may be talking about you and your money. We have the Six of Cups. Nostalgia. Happy memories. Really treasured memories. It can talk about someone you already know. And that may be why the Fool is facing to the left, where the Hermit is facing to the right. But they're mirroring each other. And what that means is the Fool is carrying the wisdom of the Hermit. So, we'll see. Queen of Pentacles, I call my psychic detective. All of a sudden I got this image, whoa, of some of you. Like, I feel like you may be looking someone up, like seeing if you can find someone. And it feels like, maybe it was an old lover, an old friend. Because I'm not feeling like any stress, anything like that. I just feel like, I might see where this person's at, what they're doing, what their life is like right now. All right, we're not going to take all those, but we are going to take what's on the table. We have the Two of Wands, which makes sense with the Fool. Seven of Swords. Interesting. And then the Five of Cups. Okay. Wow. I kind of want to try to put them so they're connected to above. This is interesting. Five of Cups, mirroring the Queen of Pentacles. Well, that would make sense for some who I feel like may be looking up like an old friend or an old boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't feel like I want to put like it has to be romantic yet. It probably would turn that way. And in the Five of Cups, it is about where one's focus has been, and the focus is on the cups that have been knocked over. But it really asks you to look at what you're focusing on. Because if I stay if I keep focusing on the cups that have been knocked over, I feel like there's clarity. There is some type of clarity. And I have to say, with the Seven of Swords right next to it, I feel like some of these cups, at least one of these cups, probably weren't serving you anyway. You know, the Seven of Swords is untrustworthy energy. They call it the thief in the night. I mean, look, this person's taking more than their fair share. I often feel this comes from like a lack mentality, like someone who could have grown up and could have had like seven brothers and sisters, and there wasn't a lot to go around. And they may have like taken off someone else's plate. But, anyways, I feel like that is part of the cups that have been knocked over. I don't feel that this is what you are looking for. Because behind this five, which is a change, by the way, there's those soulmates. There's those two cups, which represents a soulmate. Two of Wands right in the middle. Two of Wands is about stepping on this new path. I love that it's the Wands because that means there's going to be passion, there's going to be desire, but also think about your own passion, your own desire. I feel like passion and desire is going to meet you along this path or on this path, but I also feel you bringing your passion to light. I mean, really, I feel like whatever you want to do, it feels like you have the ability. I feel like the one place that may be a little would be emotionally, but I don't feel like it has to stay that way. You know, some of us could have been focusing for a very long time on someone or people who, you know, let's face it, didn't carry trustworthy energy anyway. Why would I want to invite that back? Now I get it. Sometimes we feel like, oh, well, but I fell in love. But I feel like that would be more on a surface level, not a soul level. Almost like this person is your stepping stone to what is next. And for some of you, you could be like in a current relationship, but your focus might be on someone else. Again, it feels like that wondering type of energy, like, I wonder what they're up to. All right, let's keep going. You know, the Two of Wands definitely invites you to allow your creativity to lead the way also. The Tower, under the Queen, front row. Some of you may have gone through a divorce, a separation, and could have definitely affected your money. And it does put you on a new path. And I would say try your best to get excited about it because in the Two of Wands, you know, we're the co creator. Like, this isn't just like like spirit is right here to help guide you, yes, but you have to decide what it is you want. You know what I mean? And then spirit will help guide you towards it. As long as the vibration is matching. You know, when I see a tower, I know it freaks some people out because it does mean an ending, disruption, what have you. But if it has anything to do with that Seven of Swords, I often feel when we see the tower, there's something that tells us that the day will come where this tower really holds no weight anymore. All right. Well, hello, Knight of Cups. Under the Six of Cups. Unexpected couple fulfillment. Hey, maybe someone is looking you up. Temperance. Okay, so Temperance has a couple different messages. Her first message is patience. If you look at Temperance, she's mixing the loving waters of two cups. Well, we see those two cups in the Five of Cups. This person doesn't see it yet, but when they change their focus, those two cups will come. I mean, we already have the Knight of Cups. So Temperance is like patience. And the patience many times is to make sure both of these cups are equally filled. And then it's divine timing. But I have to say, when I see Temperance and then also see Judgment, I feel like the time for patience is like coming to an end, and the time of moving into something feels like it's beginning, and it is divine. And then look at this, we have your major arcana. Interesting, it's coming under the Seven of Swords. If you look at this image too, you see the lovers, right? The lovers are being influenced by shadow, almost like trying to keep them apart. But it feels to me like they're meant to be together. This is definitely illusionary energy. So I feel like there may be a need to be very truthful with yourself. I'm not even sure what about yet, but I have a feeling it has something to do with the lovers. They're both naked. And to me, that's about being your authentic self. I don't need clothes to um, hide who I am. And that's just, I'm using that as an example. Um, but there feels like there's something, like maybe I haven't felt like I could be my true authentic self. I feel like Temperance and Judgment are like, well, hang on to your hat. I would ask you to ask yourself though, because you are coming under the Seven of Swords. Um, and this could certainly be old energy. And it may be something that you wished didn't happen. Where am I going with this? I feel like Judgment, your spiritual team, feels like they want you to enjoy this Knight of Cups. And I feel like just take a second and just reflect upon yourself as it relates to love. And I say this because if you really want highest vibration of love, let's say, then we have to also be able to give it, right? Or what's that saying? We get what we give. We get what we give. That's kind of like karma. But listen, even if I created bad karma, I can still pay it off. You know what I mean? Like I'll have an opportunity to pay it off. Okay. Let's not get hung up on that though. 10 of Wands, mirroring the Tower. Okay, well, 10 of Wands. I often feel that who's ever in the Ten of Wands, is they are subconsciously wishing for a tower. Reason being is you can just look at this person. First of all, look at their muscles. And that's from pushing those wands. So I've learned a lot in this energy. I've grown a lot. But it is a period of heavy responsibility. it can talk about the tendency to put everything on your shoulders and knowing that you have to let that go, right? You can't control everyone. You can control yourself. But again, another reading where I feel like we're going to eventually come back and thank this tower. Because this tower is probably what puts you into this fool's energy. And because we see the fool, and even the magician, or I'm sorry, the hermit mirroring the fool, tells me that probably the majority of you have so much more spiritual clarity than you probably had just a couple months ago. I don't know why, but I feel like rapid growth. All right, let's see what's on the bottom of the deck, the Six of Pentacles, that fine art of give and take. So we know the Seven of Swords, I would call them takers. And the Six of Pentacles really talks about, what's fair, is things balanced. Do you just give and give and give and someone else just takes and takes and takes? Or is it the other way around? You know what I mean? So it's finding that balance. This is really an empathetic and compassionate energy. And this is why it's so easy to give in this energy. And I feel like the lesson is learning to allow yourself to receive. And sometimes that sounds silly, like receive. Well, that's not hard, but it is. Like that means allowing yourself to be completely open, even if there's a little fear, and allow yourself to explore because you're heading somewhere new and you have such great energy, like directing you. Ten of Swords underneath that. Dagger after dagger after dagger. Wand after wand after wand. All right, let's bring in the crystal vision and let's go deeper. Temperance is coming right under the Two of Wands. And that's when you're about to step on this new path. And by the way, the Two of Wands, it's not like there's not fear. Or let me put it a different way, because we are human. There could be a little fear, but you do it anyway. And it does signify like getting excited for your future, but also know what you're putting out there because it will return to you. Okay, let's go deeper. I have a feeling there may be someone who, as it relates to a relationship, I just get this sense that I'm very careful with my money now, or, and so I'm very picky at the same time. And I get that, right? Because again, the Six of Pentacles tells me that something wasn't equal. All right, look at this, the Six of Cups again. Something happening. There's something happening here. Hello, Destiny. Wow. There is someone or a place that calls to your heart. You are moving into a destined time. That means that some of the things you're going to find along this new path are predestined. Now, we are the co-creators, right? So like the magician would teach the fool, you have the pen and paper. You write your chapter, but write it knowing what you know today. Feels like the wheel is about to turn and destiny is about to open up. And by the way, it's also touching the fool and it has the Knight of Cups underneath it. I just feel like there's someone destined for you and you for them. You know, sometimes things don't work out with other people because they're not our soulmate. Now, as I say that, I want you to understand that every love has taught you something. And sometimes it's as simple as I now know what I do not want. But then as you yourself evolve, again, the universe must meet you right where you're at. Your wheel is spinning. And there is something about the Six of Cups, whether it be a past life, current life, or a combination. We have the Three of Cups. Interesting. First thing I thought of is the month of December because December is a three universal energy. This is the energy of joy, celebration. It means there will be something to celebrate. It sits upon this new path. And then we have the Eight of Swords over the Seven of Swords. You know, I feel like if there's anyone in your life and let's face it, I feel like in the Eight of Swords, I feel stuck. I feel stuck, but I don't like the energy that you're stuck in. Coming over the Seven of Swords. You know, if the Seven of Swords is a person, they'll tell you what you want to hear. But that doesn't mean it's the truth. They just don't want to face the consequences of their actions. I'll be honest, I feel the majority of you know this and potentially have cleared it. The Eight of Swords is a self-created prison, but it looks like it's someone else. Well, you created it, but it's someone else's energy that I feel, it's either, eights are about new beginnings, and that can be scary. Eight of Swords is building up walls, trying to protect oneself, and that makes sense coming over the Seven of Swords. But really is your intuition is what you want to use. That's your protector. You know, for some reason, all of a sudden I remember your November reading. And very seldom do I remember back because I just do so many readings. But I remember the Eight of Swords in your November reading. So let's just put it simply. I would just ask yourself, you know, do you feel you're in this self created prison? And if so, is it over someone who doesn't deserve that energy, doesn't deserve your energy? You have to know that. It's almost like you were ripped down, but spirit's trying to build you back up again. But you gotta let them. You gotta accept the help. Maybe even ask for the help. Okay? That's probably why we have the Five of Cups. So even though there's this potential soulmate, in the Eight of Swords, will I allow? Interesting how we have the Ten of Wands again. Now right over the Five of Cups and below the Five of Cups. Wow. You know, if we look at the major arcanas, I feel like that is really showing your soul's growth. I feel like this energy here is more human. You know what I mean? Like fear-based human energy. Almost like where I'm not trusting within my own intuition. Definitely, you're not within the Eight of Swords. I feel like some of you want this change, and it may not be easy, but I feel like it's going to be worth it. Sometimes the hardest change brings us the most beautiful blessings. And I feel also, I feel like you're carrying a lot of weight that you really don't need to. And there may be someone else with very similar energy. And I'm wondering, what if you come together? And together, you carry those wands. And I'm saying that because the soulmates sit right behind this energy. And we already know the Knight of Cups is coming in. And we know the divine is the one who's ushering it in. So there really is nothing to fear. I feel like the biggest thing here is change, is knowing that you deserve to live a good life, but you have to be bold. You have to be willing, right? You have to be willing to take that leap of faith. The one thing I want to remind you with the Fool, it is about taking a leap of faith. But let's say that you take that leap and then something's like, I don't know if I want to go down this path. You can always change direction. The Fool's not an obligation. It's a way of being. I feel like free yourself and the rest will follow. All right, let's keep going. The Five of Pentacles, the King of Cups, and Justice. All right. Well, first thing I would say is I feel like we know where we need to use the energy of justice. Justice is about what's fair and just, what's balanced. Are you balanced? Oftentimes I feel like it's energy outside of ourselves, but we have the power of cutting those ties, whether it be like physically cutting ties or energetically cutting ties. When you see justice in a reading, it is trying to make you whole again. But it's a necessity at the same time that you use this sword. There is something here where I feel like it feels somewhat unbalanced. Not you, just kind of like the energy around you. I feel like you have a lot more power than you may know. All right, so let's go back for a second. So we have the Five of Pentacles over the tower. Kind of makes sense. This could be a tower you didn't ask for. But let's face it, with two Tens of Wands and the Eight of Swords and the Seven of Swords, I do feel like the day will come when you'll be like, thank God. And another thing about the Five of Pentacles, it can be difficult energy because something has happened outside of our control. But this is moving you closer to soulmate energy, your soulmate tribe, where there is compassion and empathy. And, maybe that's what we needed to build up in ourselves first. That could be why the Six of Pentacles is there. And as I build my empathy and compassion, those who don't have that, it just won't feel right anymore. King of Cups coming over the Knight of Cups. So is he bringing in this cup? Or is he the receiver? And I say he, but it can also be a she. And the King or Queen of Cups would be the perfect energy to come over the Knight of Cups, because this is someone who does appreciate love and relationships. Let me make that clear. Like, this is someone who, in the upright, appreciates having that special partner by themselves, by their side. Like my best friend and my lover. Under the wheel, your will. Remember that. This is your destiny. And it's connecting you right to the fold. But then also this Six of Cups. How about that, Capricorn? How about the Ten of Cups? How about the Ten of Cups versus the Ten of Wands? Coming right over your major arcana. And it's mirroring Judgment, your spiritual team. Again, they're calling you to the present moment. And they are talking about a rebirth. Well, hello, Ten of Cups, the house of love. What did Mother Mary say? Love. Love is the answer to all of my questions. This was probably love. This Eight of Swords, the Eight of Swords was probably created because it's a not probably, I feel it was. And again, I'm trying to protect myself in that Eight of Swords energy. And what you really want to learn, especially with this beautiful energy above, is to trust your intuition. You don't need these walls. And if something has ended and it was untrustworthy anyway, you gotta let it go. Let them go. Or if it's a situation, move on from it. This is not about you staying in this heavy energy. This is moving you into, something that you're going to be celebrating if you allow. Hello, Ten of Cups, right over your major arcana. And let's just look at this for a second. The Knight of Cups, this unexpected cup of fulfillment. And out comes the King of Cups, male or female. The perfect energy for love. And then justice. So it's interesting that justice is coming between the King or Queen and the Ten of Cups. But over temperance. So it is like temperance is asking you to use that sword. Don't let fear stop you from living the life that you could live. And it starts with a single step. I feel like some of you are afraid of love, but that's because of the level of love. And I've been saying this a lot lately, like there's different levels of love. And each level teaches us something to the point where we can be the best us in love, right? Like I've been cheated on before, and it truly makes it impossible for me to cheat. Like I cannot do that to someone. Now, I'm not judging anyone, but that's just what I'm saying. Um, and I've been in that Eight of Swords. I've been in this energy. And I am in the Ten of Cups now. So when I tell you it's possible, I know it's possible. All right, let's keep going. Interesting, Capricorn. I may come back and look at that the two sixes of cups, because it is on your wheel. The Hierophant. Okay, so the Hierophant, first of all, it's a number 5. Change. 2 5s. Interesting, I just realized 2 5s, 2 10s. But the Hierophant wants you, and by the way, it's mirroring a 5. There could be 3 changes in your life. But anyway, the Hierophant, card of Taurus, ask you to ask yourself, am I living life according to my standards, to my morals? Or have I lowered my own vibration to meet another's? And I feel like that's a lesson that I feel like we all go through. Like we have to learn as we ourselves grow and evolve. There's no need to lower your vibration again. And I would not suggest it. Certainly, people can try to get you to, but I feel if you have gone through this energy, I just don't feel like you would go back. Or another way of saying that, because it's not about going back, I feel like if you really understand this, then you know that Ten of Cups is very possible. So the Hierophant is asking you to ask yourself, am I living my life according to my morals? And if I'm not, what changes do I need to make? There's no judgment, by the way. That's the one thing you can know when you come to my table. There is no judgment on you. I don't look at someone, like let's say you're having an affair. I don't judge you at all. Not at all. But your spiritual team will advise you. They're not judging you either. Just know that. Someone left a comment, and I hope it's okay I share that. But they said something like, I know Divine must be so mad at me, just because of, things in their life. And I wrote back, I said, Divine is never mad at you. We were born imperfect, and that's how Divine made us, imperfect. So our soul will seek. And, I'll be honest with you. I would rather fall in love with someone who had had their heart broken than someone who's never had their heart broken. Why? Because, and this could just be me, but I get this sense that, like I don't want to say there's nothing more painful, but it's up there. It's up there being cheated on. And it is hard to get over. I know that. But you can, and you will, if you choose. But you have such beautiful divine support. And no wonder we opened this reading with the Fool. All right, I'm going to go below also. Part of me feels like some of you have someone in mind. We have the Page of Cups mirroring the Six of Cups. Well, hello, Ten of Pentacles. So not only do you have the Ten of Cups, you have the Ten of Pentacles. And not only does the Ten of Cups sit upon your wheel, your destiny, so does the Ten of Pentacles. Where I felt like some of you may have taken like a financial hit. Maybe you've gone through a divorce or what have you. Or maybe you were living together and, had to split everything. Whatever it may be, this is showing that you will recoup it tenfold as long as you're willing to put in the effort. It's not magic, but it can feel like magic. Look at that. The Ten of Pentacles. Also connected to the Knight of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. There's something going on here. Two of Cups. There's our soulmate. By the way, Temperance. And what does Temperance do? What did I point out? She was mixing the loving waters of these two cups. She wants to make sure that both are equally filled. Another way of saying that is that they're on the same vibrational level. Doesn't mean they're exactly alike. It could be completely opposite. Opposites attract. But it could be a good thing. Here is a soulmate. And how beautiful the divine is the one who's ushering this in. Some of you may already know, like you may have this feeling of like, I feel like I know who this soulmate may be. And it could be someone that you haven't talked to in a long time. Or even just someone that you need to take that leap of faith with. I see nothing to fear except fear itself. I understand why, if I have fear, why. And I hope that if you're here, that you understand what this is saying here. This tower, this untrustworthy energy, these tens of wands, this is yesteryear, if you let it be. You have to let it be, and that's where the sword of justice comes in. And look where the soulmates are sitting, between the Ten of Pentacles and the Ten of Cups, and you. Interesting how I said here in your card, you can see the lovers, right? But for some reason, they can't be together. It's illusionary. When we see the lovers card, and maybe we still will, you also see the lovers, but you see them influenced by an angel. Here they're being influenced by the dark. And I just get this sense it's like something's coming in between them. Well, I have a feeling it's someone. All right, let's put these back the way they were. Ten of Cups and the Hierophant. And let's remember that we have the Knight of Cups here. Unexpected cup of fulfillment. How it can't be love, I don't know. But listen, this is also telling you about your money, like the 10 of Pentacles. But in the 10 of Pentacles and in the 10 of Cups, I don't feel you're alone. Just like in the 10 of Wands, I didn't feel you were alone. But that energy, I hope, is yesterday's news. I feel like with all these fives, it is. All right, but let's keep going. We got the beautiful soulmates on the table. By the way, they're mirroring the Three of Cups and the Two of Pentacles stepping upon that path. Some of you, it's like karmic justice. Like you're receiving karmic justice. Queen of Pentacles again. The Emperor. And then the Three of Pentacles. So, it's interesting with the Three of Pentacles. This is where you are comfortable in your own skin. This is the appreciation of your unique self. And someone else appreciating that. Coming out with the Emperor. Number one, I feel for some, this is talking, like I'm hearing that country song. And I can't remember the lyrics, but I'm a better man now. Like I'm a better man. I'm a better man. Oh, I wish I could remember it. Okay. I feel like that's part of it. So the Emperor, Cardivaries, number one. But the Emperor is someone we can look up to. And I kind of love the Emperor and the Three of Pentacles together. Because I feel like listen, you've either already fallen in love or you're falling in love. And I feel like in that energy, with this feels like a new person, they may be old, but new again. I feel the energy of collaborating together, which I get a lot in your readings. Collaboration, working together. What are you doing together? Creating the Ten of Pentacles, the House of Abundance, House of Loyalty, a house that truly can take root. It started with the Ace of Pentacles. And if you ever notice with the Ace of Pentacles, and it depends on what tarot deck you use, you usually see roots hanging from it. And that means that seed is really what I call the aces, can take root, can last forever and a day. Even if some of you may have lost jobs, it still feels like the same thing. It's like once I allow myself to overcome that, it takes a moment. But once you start to overcome that, then I feel like a new opportunity will come in. The Three of Cups means that there will be something to celebrate. But I have a feeling it's going to be more than one thing. I feel like someone's going to usher the words, whether it be you or them. And let's just say, like, I am someone that you can count on now. I am someone you can count on. I'm looking at this energy mirroring the Page of Cups. Page of Cups often is like the inner child. And that's probably where the healing had to take place. But if your inner child could rule, then it would rule through playfulness, lightness, not heaviness, laughter, joy. That's everything that exists in that Ten of Cups. This is such an abundant reading after the fact. All right, I feel like I have to go up and look at these Six of Cups. Because remember, we have the Five of Cups mirroring them. In the Five of Cups, at first your focus is on what you have lost, but when, and it's coming under the Hermit, and this is the year, let me tell you, to really know what you want and what you don't want. Because right now, you want to plant those seeds on how you want your next 9 years to look. But here's the thing. I don't feel like it's just your next 9 years. I feel like it's the rest of your life. But how do you want it to look? The same or much more? Okay, anyway, let me go back to the sixes. You have, I think, 3 5s. So there could be 3 changes. One is definitely in love. The other is money. The Ace of Wands, and look at this, the Five of Cups again. Passion ignited with the Ace of Wands, but it also talks about it's go time. Right? So it's like your heart chakra is activated. It is not the cups that have knocked over. It is the 2 cups right here. And this ace gives you the passion. I feel like what it's doing is giving you the inspiration to take that step forward. Like goodbye cups that have been knocked over. Very interesting. It's like I don't want your reading to end yet. So I think what I want to do, I'm going to look at the soulmates. Because they are between, well, number one, they're mirroring the magician and judgment, your spiritual team, calling you to the present moment. The magician reminding you that you really do have all the tools on the table. It is your wisdom. And then temperance, the one who asks you to trust in divine timing. Well, now we know why. It definitely, like, how could I have the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles and the Ten of Wands and the Eight of Swords and the Seven of Swords? They don't fit. So they must be what wants to go, what's ready to go. But you do have to allow it. Okay, what was I looking at? The soulmates. Excuse me. Well, look what just flipped itself around. The Nine of Swords. Worry. Worry, baby. Sleepless nights. Not trusting yourself. It's turned around. So the meaning of the Nine of Swords, by the way, is unnecessary worry. We're looking at the soulmates. So I feel very quickly your mind and your heart is at ease. And then look at this. Healing. The Four of Swords. You know, that's one of the beautiful things that soulmates do for each other. Because I feel like we all have broken pieces. And soulmates can definitely help heal them. But they do it for each other. And it's just a natural type of energy. What else I love about this is I feel like, first of all, I feel like you're allowing now. Maybe you weren't allowing and now you decide, you know what? I am going to step upon this new path. I am going to take a leap of faith. I am going to trust in my spiritual team, in divine. I am going to let this healing take place. I'm not going to worry. You know, this can also talk about allowing things just to flow naturally. There's no need to really, I feel like, to try to push it or anything. I feel like it just will unfold naturally. That's kind of beautiful. The Five of Wands. Five of Wands, passion. Um, but it can be fighting. It can be friendly competition. And that could be the case. And I have to say, very seldom do I feel that. But here, I feel like it could be that, especially for those who collaborate. Like, I could see, like, oh, I have an idea, and someone else be like, well, I have one too. Well, let me tell you mine first. No, I got to tell you mine first. All right, well, I'm not going to end it on a 5. So I'm going to go right below it. Right below them. Soulmates. Or maybe that's, I was going to say, maybe that's it. Look at that. Seven of Swords just turned in reverse. This is you making a decision. Choosing a cup. That means a cup is coming in. That means the Knight of Cups is delivering the Knight's promise. Seven of Cups can feel chaotic. But it's still about making a decision. Because it's reversed, I feel like at this point, you've made that decision. At this point, I feel like some of you are very clear. All right. Let's let that be. And last but not least, before we bring out the other cards, I just want to look at the wheel real quick. The Queen of Swords and the Two of Pentacles. So the Queen of Swords to me would represent your voice, your truth, your authentic self. And it could talk about like you've learned to use it. You've learned to use your voice. Um, certainly your voice with the Eight of Swords and the Seven of Swords was probably shut down. Two Pentacles. They call it the Juggler's card. I feel like it's more about using one's logical mind. So, the thing is, when there are changes, oftentimes we're given the opportunity of saying yay or nay. If I never leave that self created prison, well, we can just kind of forget about all this. It doesn't mean that this is what I feel. The day I decide to put down those walls, I'm giving the universe a signal. And it doesn't even have to mean that I'm looking for love. You're just giving the signal that you're open. You're open to new, right? 8 is about a new beginning. And Judgment wants you to allow this new beginning. And I feel like your spiritual team is showing you every reason why you should. If you're bold enough. Though, as I say that, I want to remind you, I feel like just taking a step on the path and then letting it flow and letting the rest go. The Ten of Cups, Ten of Pentacles, the soulmates, and their life begins together. Together. Okay. Let's pick up some of these because there's a lot on the table. Actually, I'm going to leave the soulmates out. I should have left the Ten of Pentacles out. Matter of fact, all of a sudden, I feel like doing something. If I can find the Ten of Pentacles again. Goodness. I'm going to do something a little different. It's going to take a little bit extra time. But I feel like I want to look at this closer, so I'm going to pick this up. Don't forget, I should keep this out. Knight of Cups. Alright, so what I want to do is put them the way they came. We had the Wheel. Then we had the Knight. Then we had Ten of Cups, I believe. Ten of Pentacles and the Soulmates. Might have been the other way around, but it doesn't really matter. What I want to do is just take some cards around this because I want to give you even more clarity. And I'm going to use the Gilded Tarot. Hello, Judgment. Judgment. Spiritual team. You know, they're telling you that your will, the destiny, it's almost like there had been a wedge in it, stopping it from turning. And I feel like that wedge was the Eight of Swords. But then when uncreate that prison, it really is freedom. I feel like judgment is saying this wheel, it's ready to spin. Like it's ready. Ah, hello, Two of Cups again. Look at that. Now the Two Cups has the wheel right in between it. Hello, Fool. Right over the Knight of Cups. Four of Pentacles. The High Priestess. Your intuition. And then the Three of Pentacles. Now, let me tell you why I love this. And I'm sure you've heard me speak about this, but because right now we're looking at love, the Three of Pentacles to me is a great omen of being appreciated for exactly who you are, and vice versa. The ability to collaborate, I also feel, is great. Some of you may be moving to a new home, a new location, but I feel like ultimately what's happening here is I feel this sense of grounding and the sense of forever. So this is not like a temporary love. This feels like a love of your life. It's interesting that the Fool came out again because I feel like that is the only requirement, right? Putting the past in the past. Allow yourself to be free and clear. Think about your childlike energy and take that leap of faith. Again, Fool doesn't mean that you absolutely committed yourself. You can always change course, but I don't think you're going to want to. High Priestess, listen to your intuition. This is where judgment is sending your signs. Your intuition. It's singing. And it is kind of like judgment is saying, this is your person. Now, let's say this doesn't happen. Does that mean your life is just going to suck? No, something else will open up. But I feel like this type of love opens up when we are able to accept it, when we allow ourselves to receive. And we do have to give, but I don't feel like that's the issue. I feel like I have to allow myself to receive love in all its glory. And those who have not loved me in the best of ways, they taught me. They were my teacher. Like every relationship was a stepping stone to the next, to your ultimate. And how beautiful that not only do we have 2025 being represented, but there is 2026 with the Fool right beside it. So this doesn't feel like it's far off. I feel like it's more about you making this ultimate decision. For some of you, it's you freeing yourselves from whatever is keeping you held down, held back. You have to know that and then decide. Okay. It's like, why mess with perfection, right? And I'm not calling myself perfection. I'm saying the energy. The energy that's on this table. And I can feel it. It's one of the gifts I was given is I can feel it. I call it a gift. Sometimes it can feel like a curse. All right. Bring in the clarifying love situations. Whoa. All right. I'm not going to take all of them. Dance of souls. Be vulnerable and let your two hearts intertwine. Capricorn. Be vulnerable. And I know that's not always easy for you. And let your two hearts intertwine. Boundless spirit. Your only limits are the ones that you put on yourself. Your only limits are the ones you put on yourself. And then this way. Restraints test. Trapped in instability. Resist impulsive urges to find steadier ground. Trapped in instability. Doesn't make sense. Resist impulsive urges to find steadier ground. Interesting, because on the other side, a desire for freedom leads to running away again. I just get the sense that some of you may be afraid of love, right? That vulnerability. And I get it. But I still feel like you should just take a step upon the path. All right, let's bring in the romance angels. Even though, in a way, we really don't need to. But let's go ahead and do it anyway. Getting to know each other. As you reveal your innermost selves to each other, your bond deepens. Conversation. I don't know why, but I just love this image. You see the man trying to win the woman over, and she's enjoying every moment of it, but you see the little girl. And I often feel this means that, you may come as a package deal. Like, I have children, they may have children, but we're a package deal. I don't feel that would be a problem whatsoever. But I do feel like it's like this little girl's like, well, you got to get through me before you get to my mother or my father. The conversation. That's what, that's probably what allows you to move into it with less fear. It doesn't, like, that's the thing. We don't have to take this fast, but it is showing us, like, the potential, right? And it's going the whole way to the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles. And then we have chemistry. Well, no doubt. There's a strong magnetic attraction here. And then, hello, wedding. So it's like the marriage card, like the Four of Wands. This situation involves marriage. Now, many of you know, I say this a lot, doesn't have to mean marriage. I'm in a committed relationship, but I'm not married. But I'm in it as if I was married. I'm not going to take off the table that this can turn into marriage, and what a marriage it feels like it would be. Okay. I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope I didn't add more confusion in the mix by pulling this out. Um, but it only brought us even better news. Like, I'm telling you, your spiritual team, they're telling you that your wheel is about to spin. What direction do you want it to go? The magician teaching the fool that you have the pen and paper. How do you want to write this chapter? Well, I was in the Eight of Swords and I stayed there for the rest of my life. Or I was in the Eight of Swords, I broke myself free, I allowed myself to heal, and then I found the love of my life. All right, I'm going to let that be. I thank you. I love you. I hope this resonates. Um, though in a way, I really hope the majority of you are past the Eight of Swords and moving into the Fool's energy. And what I would say, if you are, is just get excited about your future. Get excited about the potential. You know, what did that one card say? There are no limits, only the limits you put upon yourself. I mean, you truly have the highest form of love here, but it's not just love, you also have abundance. And I feel like it all starts in the Fool's energy, willing to take these leaps of faith. You know, your angels will catch you if you fall. All right. I love you. Thank you. I'll see you next time at our table. Bye bye.